Photography is an art, and like all art forms, it has its guidelines. But what if we told you that breaking these rules could lead to even more stunning photos? Yes, you heard it right. Breaking the rules in photography composition can lead to some intriguing results. It can spark creativity, allowing you to experiment with unusual angles, perspectives, and framing. It can add a touch of uniqueness to your images, making them stand out from the crowd. Breaking the rules can also add emphasis to certain elements in your image, guiding the viewer's eye to what you want them to see. Lastly, it can give you more control over the narrative of your image. But remember, to break the rules effectively, you need to understand them first, and always remember these rules are guidelines, not hard and fast laws. So, ready to break some rules? Let's dive into how exactly you can do it. The rule of thirds is one of the most basic composition guidelines, but what happens if we decide to break it? To understand this, let's first take a quick look at what the rule of thirds is all about. Picture an image divided by two equally spaced horizontal and vertical lines, creating a grid of 9 equal rectangles. The rule of thirds suggests that we place our main subject or points of interest along these lines or at their intersections. This technique is widely used and can lead to harmonious, well-balanced compositions. But let's flip the script. What if we intentionally deviate from this well-trodden path? What if we place our main subject elsewhere? Not on the lines or intersections, but perhaps near the edge of the frame. This can create a sense of tension, an anticipation that something is about to happen. It can create a visual pull, a dynamic interplay between your subject and the rest of your image. For instance, consider a photo of a sprinter captured at the very edge of the frame, about to burst into the scene. The conventional rule of thirds might place the sprinter along a vertical line, but by positioning them at the edge, we inject a sense of imminent action and movement, making the image more compelling. Or, what about using negative space? Instead of filling the frame with your subject, try placing them in a small corner, and let the rest of the frame breathe. This can create a stark contrast, drawing attention directly to your subject and giving your photo a minimalist appeal. However, a word of caution here. Breaking the rule of thirds, like any composition rule, should be done with a clear intention. It's not about rebelling for rebellion's sake, but about using the break to amplify your story, to make your photo speak louder and clearer. In essence, breaking the rule of thirds can help you create unique, memorable, and creative compositions. It allows you to push boundaries, to experiment, and to express your individuality. As you can see, stepping away from the rule of thirds can add a new level of interest to your photos. Balance in a photo feels natural and pleasing, but sometimes, imbalance can create a sense of tension that's just as captivating. Now, if you're familiar with the concept of balanced composition, you know it's all about distributing visual weight evenly within a frame. This could mean placing your subject in the middle with equal amounts of space on either side, or having multiple elements in a scene that offset each other. This symmetry can create a sense of harmony and stability, making the viewer feel at ease. But here's the kicker. Breaking this rule can make your photos even more compelling. Yes, you heard right. An imbalanced composition can emphasize certain elements in your image, or even create tension, drawing the viewer's eye in a way a balanced composition might not. Imagine a solitary figure standing at the edge of your frame, with a vast, empty landscape stretching out on the other side. The imbalance is striking, isn't it? It creates a sense of unease, of isolation, but it also draws attention to your subject, making the viewer wonder about their story. Or consider a scene where you have several elements on one side of the frame and just one on the other. The imbalance can create a dynamic contrast, making the viewer's eye move back and forth, engaging them more actively in the image. Breaking the balance can also give you more control over how the viewer navigates your photo. You can guide their focus towards certain elements, creating a visual narrative that might not be possible with a perfectly balanced composition. But remember, breaking this rule should be done with intent. An off-balance composition for the sake of it can just end up looking awkward. The key is to understand the effect it has on your viewer, and use it to enhance your image. Remember, imbalance isn't always a bad thing. It can be the very thing that makes your photo stand out. Leading lines guide the viewer's eye through the image, but what if we disrupt these lines? Let's dive into the realm of breaking the rule of leading lines in photography. In the traditional sense, leading lines are visual paths that guide the viewer's gaze through a photograph, often towards a focal point or subject. It's a powerful tool, creating a sense of depth and dimension, and establishing a narrative within the frame. But what happens when we break this rule, when we disrupt the predictable trajectory of these guiding lines? The answer is, we gain more control over the viewer's journey through the image. We can create a sense of movement or direction that is less predictable, more dynamic. We can give the viewer a less guided, more exploratory experience within the photograph. Think about a winding road in a landscape photograph. Normally it would guide the viewer's gaze from the foreground to the horizon. But suppose we break the rule. Imagine the road, instead of leading to the horizon, abruptly ends halfway through the frame. This disruption forces the viewer to search the rest of the image, creating a sense of curiosity and exploration that wouldn't exist with traditional leading lines. Similarly, consider a portrait where the subject's gaze or body direction usually acts as a powerful leading line. Breaking this rule could mean having the subject looking or pointing outside the frame or towards an empty space. This can create tension, intrigue, and sometimes even a sense of discomfort, pushing the boundaries of traditional composition. It's important to remember, breaking this rule should be a conscious choice. It should serve a purpose in your image, whether it's to create surprise, tension, or to challenge the viewer. It's not about disregarding the rule completely. It's about understanding it, then knowing when and how to break it effectively to enhance your image. Breaking the leading lines rule can take your viewers on an unexpected journey, adding an element of surprise to your photos. So, dare to break the rules and redefine the viewer's journey through your photographs. So we've broken the rules and we've seen how it can transform our photos. But what's the key takeaway from all this rule breaking? In our journey through the rebellious side of photography composition, we've discovered 4 key points. First, breaking the rules sparks creativity, allowing you to experiment with unusual angles, perspectives, and framing to create dynamic and interesting images. It's all about stepping outside the box and seeing what magic you can conjure up. Secondly, we've seen how breaking the rules can lead to uniqueness in your photos. It's easy to fall into the trap of formulaic compositions, but when you dare to defy the norm, your photos take on a distinctive character that makes them stand out from the crowd. Thirdly, we've explored how rule breaking can be used to emphasize certain elements in your image. Maybe it's placing your subject near the edge of the frame to add tension, or using negative space to draw attention to your subject. The rules don't dictate where the emphasis should lie, you do. And finally, breaking the rules gives you more control over the viewer's journey through the image. You can use leading lines or diagonals not just to guide the viewer's eye, but to create a sense of movement or direction. In other words, you get to tell your story, your way. However, it's crucial to remember that breaking the rules should be done intentionally and with purpose. It's like learning to play a musical instrument. You need to know the basics before you can start improvising. Understand the rules, break them effectively, and you'll find that they're not so much rules as they are guidelines. So, what's stopping you from experimenting with breaking the rules in your own photography? Perhaps it's time to forget about playing it safe and start taking some creative risks. Remember, in photography, rules are just guidelines, so go ahead, break the rules, and let your creativity shine through your photos.